Tel Aviv, a Friday afternoon in May. As the week winds down, traffic dwindles in the streets of the metropolis. But in a secluded downtown office, the pace remains frantic. Only a handful of Israelis know of this room's existence or its purpose. It is the eve of Shabbat, the Jewish Sabbath. Operation Solomon, the secret airlift of Ethiopian Jewry, is underway. An entire Jewish community is about to reach its promised land. The Jewish world will celebrate their homecoming, yet the origins of Beta Yisrael, these black Jews from Africa, will remain a mystery. Some 3,000 years ago, a gift-laden caravan carried the Queen of Sheba across the desert to visit King Solomon. Did the Ethiopian Jews descend from their son and his followers? Or from one of the 10 tribes of Israel, perhaps the tribe of Dan? Did they stem from Ethiopian Christians who adopted Judaism? From Yemenite Jews brought to Ethiopia as prisoners of war? Or from Jews exiled from Jerusalem after the destruction of the first temple in 587 BCE? No one is certain how Beta Yisrael came to inhabit northeastern Africa.
When Solomon's temple in Jerusalem was destroyed, the Jews were exiled, dispersed in all directions. We never forgot what was written in the Torah. We kept on praying to return. We have no written history, but our forefathers say we came to Ethiopia through Egypt and the Sudan to the Ganda region.
We born a Jew and we will be forever Jew. And so today I am not trying to find where is my origin.
The point is, we came to Ethiopia, and our forefathers fought to remain Jewish, and they passed down their tradition to us.
Beta Yisrael were isolated from the outside world, convinced they were the last Jews on earth. While the Jews of medieval Europe were persecuted and herded into ghettos, Beta Yisrael enjoyed independence with their own rulers and army. Some 500 years ago, tragedy struck. Ethiopia's Christian emperor Ishaq dealt rebellious Jews a crushing military defeat. He demanded they convert to Christianity or lose the right to own land. Ultimately, most Jews were forced off their land. They were forced into new professions. They became pottery makers, weavers, blacksmiths, resented yet necessary. To their Christian neighbors, this world of fire and hot iron seemed like black magic. Persecuted, regarded with suspicion, the Jews were labeled falashas. The word means wanderers, landless.
I don't like to be called falasha. It means you're a foreigner. Go away from here. When they called me falasha, I was very hurt.
Falasha is an obscenity. They had no respect for us.
As it had for Jews elsewhere, adversity hardened their will. Religious leaders established strict rules of conduct to insulate the Jews from their Christian neighbors.
Our forefathers erected a barrier. It was forbidden to enter the house of a Christian, to eat with a Christian, to drink the water of a Christian. Because of this, we survived.
The Torah, handwritten on goatskin in the ancient Gez tongue and known as the Orit, was at the heart of Ethiopian Jewish life. The Mishnah, Talmud, and other later commentaries were unknown. The Sabbath and other holidays mentioned in the Torah were strictly observed.
On Friday, we bathed. On Saturday, we prayed in the synagogue. We all wore clean white clothes. On Shabbat in Ethiopia, no one cooked or lit fires. It was a day of rest. We went according to the Torah. What was written in the Torah was what we did.
For that reason, the Passover Seder and holidays like Lag BaOmer, Hanukkah, and Purim that came into being after the destruction of the Second Temple were foreign. The Sigd was unique to Beta Yisrael, a time of prayer and fasting, renewing the ancient covenant forged between God and Moses at Mount Sinai. On this day, the Jews of Ethiopia dared to dream of Jerusalem, of returning to their holy city.
My grandfather would gather all the children and tell them about the land of Israel, about the Jews. I understood I was a part of the people of Israel.
There was a bird. She was a very beautiful bird, and we thought that she came from Jerusalem. So we dreamed a lot to come to Jerusalem, and we were imagined that Jerusalem is a golden area. Even the building is golden, the road is golden, everything is golden.
It would take more than 1,000 years of unwavering belief before the dream came true. The Jewish world knew almost nothing of Beta Yisrael. Over the centuries, scattered reports told of Jewish tribes living beyond the mythical Sambatyon River, of a remote African land inhabited by the 10 lost tribes of Israel. Around 1775, Scottish explorer James Bruce reported the existence of Jews in Ethiopia. In the mid-19th century, French researcher Antoine Dabadie reported meeting Torah-observant black Jews. But real contact came only in 1867, when the French Kol Yisrael Chaverim organization sent Professor Yosef Halevi to investigate Jewish life in Ethiopia. His report brought no further action. During the late 19th century, half of Ethiopia's Jewish communities succumbed to drought, war, disease, and famine. In 1904, Halevi's student, Yaakov Feitlovich, came to Ethiopia and remained for 2 years, living with, learning about, Beta Yisrael.
When Dr. Feitlovich came to Ethiopia, my father told me he was not recognized by our Kesim. He was not allowed to enter in to synagogue because he was white. So I myself, I thought all the Jewish people over the world are black people.
Feitlovich returned to Europe with a letter from the Kesim, the Ethiopian religious leaders, saying, "Do not forsake us." He brought back a letter from the rabbis of 42 Jewish communities, offering moral support, but little concrete assistance. Feitlovich went on working to bridge the gap between Beta Yisrael and the Jewish world. Books and teachers, kippot, skullcaps, and prayer shawls, the Talmud and the Mishnah, the holidays and customs of mainstream Judaism began appearing in Ethiopia. But it would take until the last decade of the 20th century before those halting first steps became a giant leap to the land of their dreams.
אנו מכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל. היא מדינת ישראל.
In 1948, the State of Israel is established, but Israeli acceptance of Ethiopian Jewry is slow in coming. Yaakov Feitlovich works to strengthen Beta Yisrael's ties to the new state. In the mid-1950s, two groups of Ethiopian Jewish youth are brought to Israel where they study Hebrew.
Suddenly, I came into a room and found children from Romania, Poland, America, and I was the only one with a different color. I asked myself, what? Are there white Jews? My parents thought we were the only Jews left in the world.
But after seeing their promised land, they are asked to return home to teach a new generation of Ethiopian Jews.
After learning Western ways and moving ahead, returning to the villages was one of the hardest things I ever did. Everything had remained the same. Nothing had changed.
Those who return to the villages kindle a new spirit among Ethiopia's Jews, a new determination to reach Israel. But Israeli policy regarding Beta Yisrael remains undefined, and Ethiopia's ruler Haile Selassie is less than enthusiastic about letting the Jews leave. World Jewish leaders press for action. In the late 1970s, Israel's government finally decides to bring Beta Yisrael home, and the Jews of Ethiopia begin the long trek out of their country. They cross illegally into Sudan, whose military dictator has been bribed to look the other way.
It took a long time till I decided to leave my parents and go into the desert. It was very hard. I knew I was going with friends, but I didn't know if or when I'd see my family again.
My parents are elders, so I was very afraid, especially for my mother, that she will cry and she will not allow me to come to Sudan. And I decided not to tell them.
We walked for 21 days. Most of the time we walked through areas controlled by the rebels, who opposed what we were doing. It was terribly dangerous.
I traveled on foot about 30 days, day and night. It was very difficult, especially thirst, hunger, and I suffered a lot. I was sometimes decide to suicide, just to kill myself, but it's not easy to kill myself.
Of more than 7,000 Ethiopian Jews who set out for Israel, more than 2,500 die along the way. Of those who reach the overcrowded transit camps in Sudan, most leave behind brothers or sisters, children or parents, husbands or wives. In 1984, Israel's government launches an emergency airlift from Sudan codenamed Operation Moses. But less than a year later, news of the secret exodus reaches the press and Sudan closes its border. Some 25,000 Jews remain trapped in Ethiopia. Entire families are ripped apart.
For the next 6 years, I felt completely alone, even though I had some relatives here. It was very hard. I didn't know when I'd see them again.
I wasn't home when she left. I was at the market. I didn't even get the chance to tell her goodbye.
During the years that pass, communication is unreliable at best. A letter when it can get through, a picture, a memory, something to hold on to. But a letter from Israel can place an entire family in jeopardy. At home in Israel, Avram Zaro passes his days in longing.
I come from a big family, 18 brothers and sisters. Everyone, including my parents, stayed back in the Gandar. Most of all, I miss my big brother, Azano. He was like a father to me. Like a father.
Small miracles sometimes break the silence. When an Israeli film crew reaches Ethiopia, it brings back personal greetings and indelible memories.
Tell them not to forget us.
Dramatic change comes in November 1989. After a 15-year break, the government of Ethiopian President Mengistu Haile Mariam renews diplomatic ties with Jerusalem. An Israeli embassy opens in Addis Ababa. World Jewish organizations spread the word throughout the countryside and help Beta Yisrael reach the capital. The Jews are now convinced the journey of a lifetime is about to begin. But Ethiopia's communist rulers demand Israeli arms, and Israel refuses. Only a trickle of Jews are permitted to leave each month. For some 15,000 Jews now living in and around the Israeli embassy in Addis Ababa, the long wait begins. A synagogue is built. The Joint Distribution Committee provides health services. The Jewish Agency provides education in what becomes the largest Jewish school in the world. Time is running out. After years of civil war, rebel forces now mount a full-scale attack. Ethiopia is on the verge of chaos. Jerusalem closely monitors the situation, while Ethiopian immigrants in Israel look on in fear. Amid the crisis, Avram Zaro's family prepares a video letter for his brother's family in Addis Ababa. At the Israeli embassy in Addis, they gather around the television. It's their first real contact in 8 years. The Zaros in Israel receive a videotaped reply. Time is slipping away. The Ethiopian army is in retreat. Rebel forces reach the outskirts of Addis Ababa. The dependents of foreign diplomats are evacuated. The Jews are trapped. But a flurry of behind-the-scenes diplomatic activity holds out hope for an escape route. At Jewish Agency headquarters in Tel Aviv, an emergency operation is planned to rescue the Jews of Ethiopia. It is codenamed Operation Solomon. On May 20th, 1991, Ethiopia's president flees his country. But remnants of the Mengistu government now demand a $30 million ransom to let the Jews go. Israel and the Jewish world come up with the money. In Addis and Jerusalem, the green light finally blinks on. On the morning of May 24th, Israeli Air Force planes take off for Ethiopia, carrying troops in civilian clothing. Operation Solomon is underway. As the Jews gather outside the embassy, months of planning and organization are put to the test. They must be transported to the airport quickly without attracting attention, within range of rebel guns. Veteran immigrants, now Israeli soldiers, return to the land of their birth to safeguard the operation. They board the planes as quickly as they land, leaving all their possessions behind. They leave the land of their birth with no more than the clothes on their backs. With no baggage, the planes carry more passengers, more than 1,000 on one jumbo jet, a world's record. At exactly 4:40 p.m., the first of 35 aircraft taking part in Operation Solomon lands at Ben Gurion Airport, and a little boy steps into the sunlight of his promised land. The The still-secret airlift will carry more than 14,200 Jews to Israel, the largest number of immigrants ever in one day. The young, the old, the healthy and the infirm, religious leaders carrying sacred writings, an entire community emerges from the plains.
This is the last group of a Jewish community that waited for thousands of years for this moment of coming back to their country. And we did it.
Operation Solomon continues throughout the night. The travelers are roped in to make sure no one strays in the darkness. The first Sabras, 7 babies born aboard the planes, steal the spotlight. Natan Sharansky, once a prisoner of Zion in the Soviet Union, now an Israeli journalist, puts down his pen and helps out on one of the flights. The story writes itself.
All of Zion is in one picture, in one moment, in 1 hour, and at the same time thousands of years of struggle. It was something fantastic.
A tremendous task force works around the clock to keep Operation Solomon on schedule. More than 1,000 Jewish agency volunteers, including many former immigrants, working and waiting for parents he hasn't seen in years. On the morning of May 25th, the story of the Exodus finally breaks. Jews and non-Jews around the world are swept up in a wave of emotion.
There are people in trouble all over this world, and nobody really cares. And you come here for 16,000 ragtag black Jews, and it made me very proud to be a Jew today. It's made me very proud to be a Jew.
36 hours and 41 round trips later, the last plane carries exhausted Jewish agency staffers back to Israel. They are the heroes of Operation Solomon.
I thought that we will feel like heroes, but we just retired.
The airlift is history, but the human drama continues. A desperate search begins for long-lost loved ones. For Avram Zaro and his brother, an eternity of longing comes to an end. The story is repeated over and over again. Each embrace brings reflections on the past and the future.
We always said we'd reach Israel one day. What our forefathers dreamed, we would do. So we prayed, and God heard our prayers.
I hope my children will have everything I didn't have. That they can learn what they like in school, like Israeli children.
They would like to be modernized young people, not to learn a lot about Torah, just to learn computer, electricity, electronics, such things.
In Ethiopia, the Christians always wanted us to convert, but we wouldn't abandon our faith. We fought them and told them we have a Torah. We are Jews. God is one, not 2 or 3. Now we are in Israel. We are Jews. God is one.
To be an Israeli is to touch a dream. That's what I always dreamed of. Now I'm in Israel, free. I know what Israel is. I'm an Israeli.
The Jews of Ethiopia are home at last, beginning new lives in the land of their dreams. Their past remains an enigma, their future an undefined possibility. Their incredible journey through time and space has just begun.
Hey!